Welcome back. We're having a great time here this evening. I've got Kelly Schotten and Courtney Schotten with me. Guess who's who? Look at them. Who's the mother? Who's the daughter? We don't know.
It's the Botox.
Is it? Have you been hanging out at Barnes' place?
I have not, but I will look into that.
We should.
I've already done it.
Really?
Yeah.
Did it hurt? I mean, isn't that
No.
botulism or
2
something
days
weird?
ago.
Yeah, who cares?
No, listen, I am such a hypochondriac. You know I'm the hypochondriac. I was like, what if it's a virus? What if it paralyzes my fetus? What if I have Bell's palsy? What if, and I'm like, okay, I'll just take the wrinkles.
Okay, just stop.
Why am I like that?
I don't know.
That's another show, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, we're here to talk about Courtney and dysautonomia.
Let's talk about her.
Okay, so we're talking about Courtney and her dysautonomia. We've gotten so far, this girl was a healthy kid, healthy baby, easy baby, sweet baby. And after she sustained a hard hit at a soccer tournament, she, a couple days later at school, had an episode where she passed out. And then the next day, her boyfriend and her best friend were hovered and patrolling.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, she said her boyfriend decided to go to track practice, and her best friend was with her. So the next day, what happens to you after your boyfriend's gone to track practice?
I passed out right there. I guess he heard me at the floor and he came back.
Oh, so he was like, I'm going to leave now. You're going to be okay. And boom, she's down. I'm back.
Yeah.
So what happens second day when you pass out?
Afterwards, my dad took me to
No, that was the ambulance. Was that the ambulance day?
Yeah, but we didn't leave the ambulance room.
That's right. We denied
we
the
went to
ambulance, but we
Dr.
did go to the
Keller.
hospital. We went to the
Okay.
hospital the second day. We went to the ambulance. We went to Dr. Keller the first day, right?
I think so. Been too long.
Anyway,
you guys were just doing the delicious
we went to the
dish
hospital,
skit.
but she did have a CT scan. So they checked her head.
And what did they find on the CT?
They did find that she did have a small contusion, so that she had, but it was old. It wasn't from from hitting the floor. She actually had sustained a concussion.
Well, do you think it was from that soccer game?
It's from the soccer game.
Okay.
So
So at this point in time, you're thinking, oh,
well, sort of.
but not really 100% then.
Yeah, not really 100%.
So are you still thinking, okay, she's a teen, she may have like what, low iron, or like she may have
Yes.
fatigue or something?
And our doctor did order a bunch of tests.
Okay.
And so the rest of the week, that's what we did. We went to the hospital and we had, the glucose testing. They tested her sugar. They literally did an entire blood workup where they checked her for everything. I mean, everything you can think of.
Like, like any form of cancer or blood disorder or diabetes or
And low iron and low potassium.
anemia.
And you name it.
And so
they
everything
checked
was
it.
checking out normal?
Perfect. It was perfect.
At this point in time, you're like, okay, she's passed out twice. Everything's checking out perfect. Tell me what happens when somebody starts saying, what? And I even was going to try to diagnose her at one point in time because I heard she was taking Invisalign for her teeth. And I'm like,
Hey.
it might be the chemicals from the Invisalign. Somebody check it out.
I already did that.
You were on
and
it.
I even suggested it. I even asked them to test her for allergies when we went to St. Louis. This came later, but when we went to St. Louis, because we ended up at Barnes twice.
Okay, yeah. So we sustained a major hit in soccer. A couple days later at school, she passes out. The next day, she passes out. You go to the doctor. They start doing tests, and the tests are coming back fine.
Fine. Everything's beautiful.
Okay, so when do we take it a step further? What happens next to get you guys to St. Louis?
It kept happening. Only
Like daily?
Well, not daily. I mean, she would go 3 or 4 days and not have. Like nothing happened, but she wasn't feeling good. Like
What were you feeling like at that point in time? Do you remember, Courtney?
It's almost like I felt like I had the flu, but it was like much worse. Like I'd have the migraine and like my body would feel horrible. I
Your
wouldn't feel
stomach.
like
Were you
doing
achy or just
anything.
tired?
Both. I
Yeah.
just felt horrible.
Did you try to like take an Advil or an aspirin or ibuprofen?
Oh, we did.
Every 4 hours.
Yeah.
Right on that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not. It was really bizarre. I mean, like her stomach was real irritable, and sometimes.
So you as a mother, were you like, something's wrong, something's not right?
Of course, of course, because, and I think for 2 reasons. 1, because this stuff isn't normal, and 2, because you're a mom and
Oh, you do
know your kids. I mean, it's just like you know your body,
Yeah.
and if someone keeps telling you, you're fine, you're fine,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Monica, you are sort of an exception to the rule because you try to find things, but for the most part, people don't want to find things wrong with them.
Right,
but when you
right.
don't have answers,
And I'm looking and searching, and maybe it's this, maybe it's this.
yeah, and you have to. I mean, you need to stop that.
Yeah, I know.
Like we said, that's another show.
You know, look what happens. You find a brain tumor.
I know,
no big
right?
deal.
We always knew there was something special up there.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But-
Leave it there.
But we knew. I
Right.
mean, we knew there was something like this isn't right.
When I remember when we spoke earlier, like pre-interview, you were like, everybody was badgering us, saying, "Do something, do something," and you're like, "We have done every test under the sun."
Yeah, we don't know what else to do.
So you guys go to St. Louis.
Yeah, after a couple of trips out to the hospital. I mean, she took a couple of ambulance rides out to our local hospital. And then, it just progressively got worse. And then she started having, like, tremors. Like, literally.
Like Parkinson's or something looking?
Almost like that. I mean, like, she would shake, and which most people that don't know anything about seizures, which she doesn't have seizures. We'll get into that.
I know, this is
But
very bizarre.
Seizures can be anything from, like, just staring out.
A zone out?
Yes. To light tremors.
To,
Yes, to a whole entire body flailing, which is what she typically does. Scary, scary, scary.
Absolutely.
If you've never seen one, I hope you never have to. But once we figured it out, now it's not as scary.
Right.
That sounds crazy, but now it's, like you said, it's our new normal. I mean, this is...
Well, because I asked you, like, in the beginning when she started having, like, the seizures.
Terrible.
Like, were any of them ever considered, like, grand mal?
They look like grand mals.
That's what's so weird.
But they're not, because...
So it went from passing out to tremors to full-blown seizure looking like...
Seizure-like activity is what
Would
they
it
call
be pseudo-seizure?
It is not. A pseudo-seizure is actually different because it's a pseudo-seizure for most people that
Caesar
don't
salad.
know.
It's a Caesar salad.
It's a stress seizure, which basically...
You mean a pseudo-seizure is a stress seizure?
A pseudo-seizure is a stress seizure.
So that means your brain's not getting the activity of like an epileptic
That's
seizure?
exactly right.
That you're still showing the visible
your
signs of
brain isn't
seizing.
misfiring necessarily, but your body is. So a pseudo-seizure is a stress seizure that your brain, like you produce. And it's...
Oh, so you're just making it up? Your body's producing
much.
it, but your
That's
brain's
it.
not in control of it?
That's exactly it.
Why does the body have to be such a complicated machine?
I don't know, but typically, and that was the first thing that they said when they saw her in St. Louis is, "Oh, yes, this is a grand mal seizure." And
talking epilepsy.
yes, but we had been for she had been checked everything. They had checked her heart, they had checked her blood, they had checked her brain.
Yeah, so you go there at one point in time, and the cardiology department's like, "We don't want her hard's fine."
That was the second time we went up there.
And then you go into...
and then they said,
nothing
"Oh,
wrong neurologically."
neurology, they don't want her there because, and so they said, "She's a psych patient." And that's when I said...
Did you lose it?
I lost it. That's where the yin and the yang kind of work out. That's where one parent kind of takes over and is the balanced parent, and the other one flips out.
So you lost at that time?
I lost it, and I walked out. And
Oh, you literally walked out.
I walked out. I walked out and literally sat in the car in the parking garage.
And so Craig takes over at this point.
Craig took care of it because he was the calm one. And sometimes it's the opposite, for us.
Yeah, it just depends at our house, too.
But at that time,
sometimes Mama's cool, sometimes it's Daddy.
I was freaking out.
Because you thought, they're not going to say this about my daughter.
No.
Because I know her, I've raised her, I live with her every day.
Sure.
She's not crazy.
No.
Something is physically manifesting itself to make her do this.
Yes, and I understand. I mean, I understood where the doctors were coming from. Not so much the first time, but the second time. I did understand more the first time, but not the second time. But, even when they finally ended up putting her in, where they put her in the PICU. Because they wanted to keep her monitored the whole...
Pediatric intensive care?
Yes.
Really?
Because they wanted
intensive
to keep
care?
her monitored the whole time. Because they had done an EEG at home, and her EEG was fine. The EEG just checks your brain waves, basically.
Okay, because I sometimes confuse that with EKG, which is for the heart.
They had also done that, and her heart was fine as well.
Okay, so your heart's fine.
Yeah.
And then they do the EEG, which if you have epilepsy... There are misfirings, and
Yes.
it will show up. So
Yes.
her EEG was clear.
Was beautiful. However, The best EEG is a video monitoring EEG where they do it for a period of time and where they can actually catch an episode or a seizure on video and on the EEG. We didn't do that until we hit Mayo Clinic.
Once you start saying the word Mayo, you know you're at the best of the best.
Yeah.
Is this where we finally got to the bottom of it? Is it Mayo?
That is where we got to the bottom of it.
So.
So St. Louis, which, not bashing them at all.
Well, because, and nobody sue me, but I'm just saying, if you can get me all the way to Carbondale, take me there.
Sure.
You get me over to Heron.
Sure.
I know a couple people over there I'd like to see.
Yeah. I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I'm like I say, I'm not bashing anyone.
And then the next step is St. Louis.
But the problem was St. Louis they were, all the tests were good. Her heart was good. Her CT was good.
So you're psych.
Yeah, so it's got to be in your mind. You're creating this on your own. So they, of course...
Well, you're like, my daughter's not...
Actually, you should... They sent a psychiatrist in to talk to her. And Courtney,
so what did they say to you?
What did they ask? They asked us to leave the room, and they asked Courtney questions. And then when we came back in, we were like, okay. And she was totally freaked out.
Yeah, like, what were they saying to you?
Well, at first they were asking if I ate glass.
Are you?
And I was just appalled. I couldn't imagine what kind of person would ever eat glass.
Like, why are they asking me this?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Do you eat glass?
Yeah, do you eat glass? They ask her...
If I had mental issues, if I had made up friends, if I had all kinds of things that
Did they ask you, like, have you ever been molested? Have you ever been hit?
Oh, yeah. All that.
And that's what they were getting at.
See, I would not let my child... Well...
I'll tell you why we left. I mean, we left the room when they asked us to because I think that kids are more honest.
They
when
are.
Their parents aren't there.
And people that have nothing to hide nothing. I just quoted Dr. Phil.
It's a true statement,
So
though.
you're like, whatever. I mean, it's our kid. We love her. We don't beat her or anything.
And we knew she would be fine with it.
And I wonder if those were trick questions. I wonder if they really thought you might be eating glass or if they just wanted to see how you would react to such lunacy.
Well, we walked in, and Courtney was like, do you know what they asked me?
We've got to take a break. We're talking, and this was in St. Louis, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about dysautonomia. We're talking about a young teen girl who has been healthy her whole life, and after sustaining a major blow at a soccer tournament, started passing out and then having tremors and then having seizures, and who's been diagnosed with something called dysautonomia, but all her tests are fine. But she does seizure-like activity, but they're not seizures, so it's kind of a confusing thing. So please stay with us. I'm Monica Zukas. This is Reality Check. We'll be right back.